There are increasing numbers of people transitioning. How do we differentiate between genuine trans people and those going through a phase?
All eyes.
I don't know how to answer that question because I haven't transitioned, I haven't detransitioned. It's a difficult question actually. Difficult.
I can see it again.
If you haven't, all right. You say you haven't transitioned. Have you thought about transitioning?
I have at one point.
So read it out again. Sorry.
So read it again. Okay. There are increasing numbers of people detransitioning. How do we differentiate between genuine trans people and those going through a phase?
That is loaded.
It's like three questions basically in one.
I don't know the number of people that detransition. I haven't heard of many.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The people that I know that have started transitioning have gone through and never regretted it.
Right.
But in the same spectrum, you do get people who transition but don't go the whole way.
So are they trans if they don't transition?
Pardon?
Are they trans if they don't transition?
Yes. You're trans if you identify as trans.
Because that's no...
Internally.
Because it's no different to, for example, before I started transitioning and me wanting to be identified as a male, it's no different in my eyes because as far as I'm still a trans man because I want to transition. But I guess in the eyes of other people, a lot of people would see it as unless you've started taking testosterone and had the surgeries, not even had the surgeries, gone the whole way and fully transitioned, then you wouldn't be classed as the gender that you want to be identified as. But it's a sticky one because, like I said, I don't know anyone who's regretted it.
So what do you think? What is it to be trans?
I thought it was when you have like an operation to change your sex.
So you were saying the operation.
Not being not being comfortable in the body that you were born in.
Mm.
Okay.
And wanting to transition to become comfortable in the body that. Wanting to be comfortable in your body, but in the gender that you would like to be identified in. Like, for example, I wasn't happy being a female, and I chose to start to transition. I will be identified as a trans man, but effectively I'm a man.
Okay, what was it that you was uncomfortable with? What were you uncomfortable with? Like you said, being a woman, but like, what is that? What was you actually uncomfortable with? And if it wasn't like, I'm just like throwing it out there. If it wasn't genitalia, because that's what everyone like avoids talking about, and because it's privacy in it, so that I understand.
Yeah.
But like, because that is the topic and that's what everyone talks about, I feel like it's important that we like go there, kind of thing.
Yeah, of course.
What does it actually feel like to be male or be female? Because I don't feel like this gender, and I feel like this other one, when loads of the time the stuff that I hear seems to be associated to just like a stereotype of male or stereotype of female, like male to female, I like Barbies, so therefore I'm a girl. And female to male, they're saying, oh, I like sports, I like hanging out with the boys, therefore I'm a boy. If it wasn't about genitalia that he was feeling uncomfortable about, and that's why you wanted to change to be the opposite gender, then why feel upset when someone says you're not this because of your genitalia? Do you know what I mean? Like, because you talked about, oh, you can do it before, you can be trans before, but then if it's not about genitalia, then like it's a bit of a fine line going there.
Again, I mean, I'll say personally, I think that it just is directly that, like, it's about self-identification, right? So if someone is identifying themselves, they're doing it for themselves. They're not really doing it for external validation or...
But they feel they're the opposite, so a guy would feel that he's a woman and a woman would feel that... that she was a man, he was a man.
Yeah.
But what does that mean to feel like that gender?
What does it mean to feel like a gender?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know if I would describe it as clear as like I said to you earlier, we was talking and I was saying that I feel like I was female internally, like so, but I also am completely comfortable with my identity, my physical identity. I wasn't when I was younger. I had gender dysphoria really bad because.
What is that? Could you?
It basically means that I didn't really like feel connected to the gender that I am supposed to be in society. That's the way I would describe that, right? So for me, it was never really. I would have transitioned when I was younger. Like I said, if I was more confident, if I had maybe a more supportive foundation around me, maybe that thing would have happened.
Would you
Do you still
transition
feel
now?
like you would transition now? Yeah.
Now would I? No, because now at my age, I don't see my external body as being something that needs to validate
Okay, so
my
question.
existence.
So would you then class yourself as a trans woman?
No, that's why I class myself as non-binary or GNC because I don't present as one of the gender markers.
What are those gender markers? That's what I'm trying to like get
Male, female.
Yeah, but what is it to identify as one of them? What is male, what is female? Because it seems like most of the time when people talk about I don't identify to this gender or that gender, it's a stereotype that
No, but it's not. It's more to do with an emotional thing.
And the things that I know, I can't speak for nobody's life or anything like that. Yeah, I just can go off what I hear. And recently there's been quite a lot of trans people that have been able to speak and tell their story. So what I've taken from that and it's annoying in my head because I feel like I don't even really want to like narrow it down to those kind of things. But what I end up hearing is that when they say, when I was younger, like let's just talk about a male to a female. When I was younger, I knew that I wanted that Barbie set. I knew that I wanted things that were pink, and I'm just like, but these are all like stereotypes of what is a girl, and why is it not okay to be a boy and like those things?
That's a society thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a society thing. Society told you as a girl you had to like pink. As a boy you had to like blue.
Yeah, but why associate your trans feeling to that?
But it's not. It's just their understanding. It's the understanding of what it is to be male or female.
I think at first it starts off with curiosity in regards to you. No one really know, like in the beginning. In the beginning, it's kind of like you're trying to understand your feelings, and for example, when you get for example, when you get younger children that are like, for example, little boys in primary school and things where they're like, I like wearing dresses and that, you tend to find they go on things like hormone blockers, which then puts them going through puberty on pause, while they kind of learn to understand their feelings and how they feel, and that kind of, and I see that as a way to stop people from regretting transitioning. Because if you, for example, a lot of people probably do go through a phase and they're like, I like pink, now I don't. Do you know what I mean? One day I like ice cream, now I don't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing is being said about as to why people are transitioning. They're like, oh yeah, I feel like I am this opposite gender inside because of this stereotype. That's what I hear.
Yeah, but feeling it and then doing something about it are two different things. Talking about it and then doing something about it are two different things. I've heard a lot of people talk about it and then I've seen them not move forward with it at all. I do see being a trans person as someone that is either currently transitioning or intending to, because the trans part is transitioning.
You do not need to transition to be trans.
Where's the fine line between like transition? When do you transition? Like when do we call? Is that maybe when do we call someone? What the pronouns are?
Differentiate between real trans
and people that are just saying it.
Because who's anyone to do that?
Playing it.
Who's anyone to do that for someone and say actually you're not real? Like
that's right. Your
who's
experience
anyone to
isn't
really do
validated.
that?
Because to me it's kind of like someone saying you're not really gay, you're not really a lesbian. No one can tell you what you are. Do you know what I mean? And for that, and so it's like for someone to say it's a phase, I would feel highly disrespected and it would annoy me if someone was to tell me that what I'm going through is a phase. How can someone else tell me how I feel? That's like someone telling me I'm not sick, but then I'm sitting there coughing my head off. You can't tell me how I feel. If I say I'm sad, how can you tell me that I'm not?
But some people are detransitioning, clearly. I just think
Do you know anyone that's detransitioning?
I don't know anyone personally, but it's a question. It's obviously out there. Someone in this world has detransitioned.
I'm a bit of an old school. I still scroll down through Facebook, and and I've seen like videos of like I don't know, like, you know, like you've got those weird kind of shows that come with this person that I don't know has turned to an alien or turned to this and that, and then you've got someone who has transitioned but is going back.
But there's always going to be someone who changes their mind, regardless of what it is, whether that's transitioning or going for a new job, or there's always going to be someone who regrets a decision that they've made. That's life.
What were your reasons, Carmen, for not wanting to go through with it?
Do you know, it wasn't that, it was a thought. It wasn't like I went to the doctors and I said, you know, I'm really depressed, I want to get a sex change. It was nothing like that. Literally a thought. I spoke about it with my partner. They were completely anti me doing it. They said, once you get this change, you're going to change as a person. Your personality is going to change, you'll be a different person. And I wouldn't be you if you was.
Do you think that played a part in you not doing it as well?
Possibly, because a lot of my partners said they wouldn't be me if I changed.
But then that's not you living your truth.
Of course, but it's a big deal to get a sex change. It's not like, you know, you're gonna dye your hair or get dreads, you know, it's a big deal. Like, could I change my sex and reproduce and have a baby with another woman? You know, could I change my sex and naturally have a hard on?
Before you even get to the point where you start taking testosterone, there are steps before that. So for those who, because effectively the NHS, your GP or whoever it is that you see are responsible for pushing off your transition. They have to give the thumbs up for you.
What is those thumbs up details, and are they trans? Do they understand the experience?
But this is the thing, because it wasn't up until recently, I can't remember when it was, it was all seen as a mental health thing. And you needed to sit in front of a panel and basically explain to them why you're not crazy.
Your traumas.
So what does it take them now to be like, do they have to believe you? How?
You have to go for assessments. You have
you also have to kind of come out to your friends and family and be on Facebook with it as well.
Because basically they say you have to do a 1 year real life experience, and this is before you even touch testosterone, where you have to live in your new gender, and if you've changed your name, you need to live as that person now for a whole year, and they see that as that's you kind of figuring out whether this is for you or not. But even that, I think, is a bit nonsensical, because it's like, yeah, but I'm still not happy because I'm telling everyone my name's John, but I still don't look like Susie. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to live in my truth, but I've still got the face of a girl, of a woman, of a female, but I'm trying to tell people to accept me in this new life that I'm trying to live.
How soon do you think they should start to give like hormone pills then?
I don't think that, like, I think it's right in the sense of hormone blockers, but even that has been argued with parents that don't think that that's okay. I think that that's brilliant, because I think that alone nips it in the bud, because it puts the whole starting hormones on hold.
What are the side effects?
Yeah, what are the side effects about that?
What are the side effects of blocking your hormones?
For example, if I was to start taking hormone blockers when I was younger, I wouldn't have grown breasts.
You say younger, like what age are we talking here?
Well, when people hit puberty at different ages.
So 10, 11 kind of age.
Yeah, so.
And in order to get those pills, you have to express a want of
not being happy in your body and X, Y, Z.
So what do you guys think? What do you guys think about people saying that children can't decide whether they're trans or not?
Of course they can.
I don't know. That's why I think where they detransition, because they might regret it. When you're a child, You know, a lot of things are influencing you, do you know what I mean? And your brain's not fully developed. Children are very, very influenced. They're like sponges. So, for example, you know, their friends, their family, movies, and their favourite character in the movie, they might want to aspire to be that person.
Even though I've started transitioning late, the feelings were there from early. What do you think influences people to become trans?
Maybe your friends, what you're watching, you know, your family members, you know, and this your feelings inside. For me, it's
difficult.
You
know what? As you said that before you
kids though.
Sorry, before you said that question, yeah, I actually maybe would have thought to myself that like, maybe it's the outside world. But then I'm thinking, wait a second, loads of people say I'm gay because of the outside world, when actually it's inside.
Right.
So that was an interesting question there, because I don't think like that it must be like the I don't know, the things that they see on TV that's going to make them want to be the opposite.
But you might see something that you like, and everything's what we see. You might want to aspire to be that person, like a celebrity or something.
Do you know what it is? You know when you have gay and lesbian people, and the first thing that they say is, why would I choose to put myself through this? Why would I choose to be ridiculed? Why would I choose to have to deal with people who don't agree with my lifestyle? Why it's no different for trans people. Why would I choose to live my life in a sense where I'm not accepted by everybody? So where to a lot of people I'm neither one or the other. Do you know what I mean? It's not something that it's not a life it's not an option for us. This is what we want. This is what we feel we need. And like I did whatever I had to do to make that happen. But I wouldn't say it's to do with that social media and this, that, and the other. To be honest, it took for me to see things like on YouTube for me to understand my feelings, because I had to see other people going through things that I was going through. The education and the awareness wasn't there before, and I think if it was, I would have started transitioning a lot earlier. But because it wasn't, it literally took for me to see other people doing it and for me to realise that this is me, this is what I want to do for myself.
Yeah, also back to your point, Carmen, like when do you even become an adult, really? Do you know what I mean? In this country, you can join the army at 16.
Yeah.
But you have to drink at a different age, and you can have sex at this age. But it's still weird. Like at what age? And also, is our understanding of someone being old enough to make a decision based on our Western experience? Because if you look across into these other countries, there are kids that are doing a lot more than we've been doing, and it's not a form of abuse. It's actually culture. So at what age? When do we start kind of going, actually,
you're old enough to make
who are we to say at this age that's going to happen? I've met people that are 50 that are still big children. How do you determine that?
Like I said, it's all down to everyone's individual experience. But as we're living in this Western world, we are baby from young. I don't know if for my child, if I'd allow them to get a sex change at the age of 11, 10. Because they may be ready.
But what you're saying is mad, because nobody gets sex change at 11. Do you know what I mean? That's what hormone
it's such a long process.
There's more to it than just I was born a boy, I want to be a girl. I'm booking myself in for surgery tomorrow. It doesn't work like that.
I don't want my child to regret it. I want them to make sure that they're making the right decision.
There are some people that just think everything's rosy and like, oh yeah, so I'm trans, so they're going to take a tablet tomorrow and then you're going to get hair, and then the next thing you know, you're going to get surgery and everything's like hunky-dory. No, it doesn't work like that.
First of all, you have to speak to your GP, and then they refer you on to the gender identity clinic. You have to go through people like endocrinologists, psychologists.
Carmen, do you really think it's as simple as your friends influencing you to become trans?
I said many factors.
But the friends was the first one that came out, so that's the bit that got me. So I was just wondering.
People that are close to you can, have a big impact on you. Sometimes they say you mirror who's close to you. Do you know what I mean? And for example, if you've got a lot of guy friends, sometimes you may think, I want to be like them. So sometimes they can be.
Have you seen any examples of that? Because I literally just.
I chilled with a lot of guys when I was younger. Do you know what I mean? That's where I was so tomboyish. Do you know what I mean? I love everything about guys. I love guys' clothes.
But you don't want to be a man, so therefore.
At the time I did, like I said, when I was young, I wanted to be a guy. It's not I don't want to anymore. I'm still a tomboy, but
So do you think you would have transitioned back in the day if it was cool and it was fine, more so fine?
the thing with me, I think about everything in detail so much. Like I'm very like I'm back and forth with my own thoughts. So I can't give a yes or no answer.
Okay, let me ask you a question, yeah? If your partner, whoever it was that you were with at the time, was accepting of the fact that you wanted to transition, and your family were accepting, everybody else was cool with it, would you have transitioned?
Again, I can't say yes or no because like I said to you, for me, even in regards to like the sexual function downstairs, like it, you know, there's sometimes there can be complications. You know, can I get it up naturally? Am I going to feel pleasure? There's a lot of questions I'll need to find out because it needs to make sense to me. I'm not going to just do it because of the physical. It needs to make everything needs to make sense to me for me to do it. Do you understand?
Yeah, but you can have issues with your genitals now, and what?
But I don't.
Yeah, but that would increase the chances, obviously, if you're operating on them.
But that's a risk you take, though.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, but it's not the same as you're saying.
Question,
Well, something could happen to them right now. Like it's more likely that.
So how do we feel about some people who like Carmen have those thoughts but go a bit step further? They go to the doctors, they go through their change, and then they're like, actually, I went too far. This isn't. Well, maybe like later on, they're having complications that they didn't actually think was so.
That's what.
How many people get married and then think that that's the person they're going to spend the rest of their life with, and then realize it's not the person they want to spend the rest of their lives with? How many people start one career and then start that career and suddenly decide, actually, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to change my mind. Why is that now seen as those people are going through a phase? Like everyone is allowed to change and allowed to experience things. I don't think it's anyone's right to go, well, you didn't go through it all the way, so now that's an invalid experience. You needed to go through that to realize, actually, I'm hard-headed. I was a hard-headed kid. I had to experience sometimes getting beaten and getting told off before I would realize why you wouldn't do something. I had to do that. I had to go through that. So it could be the same for those people.
I agree with what you said. I agree. 100%.
Are they still trans?
Yeah, the people who are detransitioning, if you like, well, if they're detransitioning, then they can't be trans because they, by their own words, they're detransitioning. So they want to go back to
what they were before.
Their
is it
born
physically
gender.
possible to do that though?
Well,
depends how far you go.
Yeah, I mean, again, trans is like not.
But what would be wrong with them wanting
this.
to go back? Because what would wrong?
There isn't anything wrong.
But you said that they're not trans. So.
No, I'm saying you would no, because by default you're saying I'm detransitioning, so I'm not trans. Then if I'm going back to my assigned birth.
But doesn't it really just mean you're not taking the pill anymore? You're not taking the hormone anymore.
Yeah.
So, and if you decide not to take the hormone anymore, does that mean you're no longer trans?
Well, as I said, I think trans is like the way that we describe people who don't meet those like little binaries. Like this is male, this is female, and male means this and female means this, and not everyone like falls on that.
But
little
surely
spectrum.
there are people that are trans that don't have access to hormones and still present as.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
As trans. So are they trans? Or
because they identify as trans. Do you understand? That's what everyone's missing. It's identity. You're self-identifying, right? We're self-identifying. So if I say I'm GNC, it doesn't matter whether you understand what that means for me. It doesn't matter if you understand personally my experience. What it does mean is that you can respect me, or we can just not we don't have to go back and forth over and over and over again, because the truth is trans identity is more about the internal than it is the physical.
So
it's just that we have different.
Do you think it's a phase?
No, I think that the people who are detransitioning choose to detransition because of whatever reason they do. It might be they might have transitioned for a wrong reason. They might have mental health
phase
problems.
within itself. Phase doesn't mean it's they was joking about it. It's just a phase means. You know, a phase just means that was one part of a phase in their life that they've been through. Now they want to have another phase.
So personally, I just feel like there's a big pressure on people all the time to know what they want to be, know who they want to be, know what job they want to do, know what their purpose is, know what their sex is. And I just think it kind of limits the experience. Like, just go through life and be able to kind of just try things out, and if it doesn't work, then it's not for you, and you should be able to do that without people telling you that you're not right for expressing yourself. No, seriously, do we all actually understand what it really truly is to be trans? Do we actually really understand?
I feel like I don't.
I don't.
I feel like I'm not even sure if I need to. I feel like it's more so like respect, and I respect what I'm being told, and that is not from my experience. So I might never be able to understand it, but I just need to, just I'll be like, cool. I believe what you're saying to me. For you, like.
I understand it to an extent. So I've got a friend who was born intersex, so they're born with male and female genitalia. And at that time, they wasn't trans. They started to become trans when they started taking their hormones. They chopped off their breast and they built a penis. To me, that's what a trans means to me. Someone who physically goes through to change their body, change their sexual orientation.
As in like actual transition.
Yeah, transition. You're going through some kind of procedure to change, your sexual.
Yeah, because that's why I say like that's what I perceive to be a trans person. If you're transitioning or have the intentions of transitioning to become the gender you feel you belong in. Because that's like, for example, you wanted to refer to as she, I wouldn't say you're a trans woman, but if that's your pronoun that you would like, then that's I'll give you that respect.
To erase someone's identity based on the fact that they aren't meeting your beliefs of what it means to fit these identities does them a disservice. Transness is multifaceted. Some trans people will go through all surgeries. Some will just go through like maybe some facial cosmetics and not transition physically. Some may just do one surgery and then not do more surgeries. Like there's so many different variations to trans identity, and to minimize trans identity into one small box erases all of the other people who identify as trans.
Me not understanding the trans experience doesn't mean that I can't empathize or see like struggle for struggle. Like someone doesn't understand me. Someone feels that like this is a choice for me. Someone feels like, oh, it could be a phase for me, and it's not. And because I understand that people feel that way about me, I then can't say to somebody else, this is a phase, this is a choice. So in me not understanding, I still respect you, but it's just, I don't understand.
That's so complicated. We're talking about children.
You say you're trans though, and you're...
Oh, you talking about
children? No, when we're talking about, we're talking about
Okay.
safeguarding young people. That's a very complex way of thinking about it. How would we make that make sense for young people, and how would we be able to even have that conversation?
That's why I think that awareness is a good thing in schools, because especially more so now, it's more out there. It is out there. It is out there for the world to see, and this is where you get the arguments with the parents who don't want their children to be open with it. But my thing is but that could be your child, and this is why I say a lot of people plead ignorance until it's happening within their household and it's their child, and then all of a sudden you want to start.
But then what if it's happening and then they have made a decision that isn't actually right for them, and then they have to change back? What do you say to those parents then, who had that concern in the beginning?
I know when I was 10, 11, how I thought back then is not how I feel now. Everything's always continually changing.
Devil's advocate kind of wise, yeah. So like if that parent actually knew their child well enough, as they're saying, and that this child doesn't know what they're actually saying, but the world is saying, no, you have to listen to the child. This child needs to transition. The child begins to transition. Parent knew all along, tried to do everything to stop this, and then the kid, after a few years, realised that, no, this is not for me, and regrets the whole thing. What do you say to that kind of parent?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
What could you say?
What can you say? Because to me that's
What's
like
done is done.
because to me that's like someone saying to you, you're not gay or you're not lesbian or whatever, and they're telling you something. They're telling you that how you feel is incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
No, understanding that it's just slightly different though.
As a parent, and we're talking about safeguarding children. Like, one, it's the thoughts of a child being able to say, "This is how I feel," which you have the right to say.
Yeah.
Right, which you have the right to say,
Always listen.
and then the next thing you know, you're going through a change. Is ludicrous that it can get to that so quickly.
No.
Hold on a second. When I say I'm not talking about the feelings, yeah, I'm talking about the process of things happening. I'm a little bit, for me, the thought of a preteen or thinking about transitioning, yeah, I think a lot more, I'm not so on this. I'd have to find out a lot more about these blockers that you're talking about, right? Because just the thought of throwing pills at a child because you say something is just a little bit.
Ask 10. If you ask a group of 10 trans men their story and where it started from, they'll all say childhood. It's all about how you feel inside. But the true dysphoria doesn't tend to kick in until you start hitting puberty and you start to realize that you are different. Because that's when I started to realize that I'm different.
But an integral part of growing up is going through puberty. There's certain things that happen when you go through puberty.
Puberty for everyone is uncomfortable. You know, it's not going to be comfortable for anyone. It's a change that's going to be happening and it's all going to be happening at once. And I personally don't believe that just because someone's not enjoying that process, that means that it should be stopped. People should have to go through emotions and should have to go through uncomfortable experiences. It's a part of life.
Also, I just think the same thing that we've been saying, I think it's the running thing we've been saying about education and talking. Like, I think a lot more talking has to be done. Yes, we have to listen to these young people. Doesn't mean we have to disregard what they're saying. I'm just saying, safeguarding purposes, yes, there needs to be a safe space. It needs to be visible for them to see it. But I also think going straight to surgery, straight to hormones, straight to those things, I think it's a big step.
But you're making it out like it happens one day. You're having this conversation. The next day, you're picking up your hormones. It doesn't work.
But it doesn't happen quickly.
We just ran through a scenario when we said a parent has a child has come to the parent and said what they've said, and the parent doesn't think it's the right. Doesn't, but everybody else in society says, I'm taking that same scenario, same situation. I just think it's a little bit...
Because time doesn't matter, really. Because time doesn't matter. If it's quick, you could still be like, yeah, I still made a great decision. It can be the opposite.
You're going to regret it. That's just how I see it.
And also, if you don't go through those processes of the blockers and all of that, also what happens is then the kids that are trans, not the ones that aren't, the kids that are trans, they actually are going through the microaggressions of living in this body, and they're going through puberty, and then they're growing breasts that they hate, and then they think about cutting their breasts off and killing themselves and all kinds of that. It's very important that we think about that when we argue the topic of blockers and the welfare of children, because if we protect the children and provide them with those things, then they're not going to suffer the traumas that many people who didn't have the privilege to do that.
Alright, so you're saying at the start of going through puberty, how much conversation have we had with these children before puberty is set in? Because because as you say, one day you want to be this, one day you want to be that. How long?
Just one day though. You're sitting there
every day,
wanting to be alive.
Yeah, but some people have spent 10 years in a career that they then decide they don't want to do. It doesn't matter about the time. It doesn't matter about how long you've deliberated or how long the process is. They could still experience it and then be like, shit, this isn't for me. And that's cool.
That's
But how do we protect
But
those
how do we
kids?
still protect them? They still need protecting. They're still there. They still
But
exist.
they're kids at the end of the day. So how do we protect
I think
those
maybe it
kids?
should be taught in schools you know, and parents should be educated more about trans.
But then how much we teach
we don't even know what the word trans even means. So it needs to be, the government should maybe just not like pushing people's faces, but there's more education on that whole sexuality and transgender and the stuff like that. There should be more education. When you know more about something, you don't feel pressured to feel, should I do this, should I do that? Because you feel relaxed, you feel like, you know, I've got options. I don't have to do this. Do you understand?
How young do you guys think is okay to give blockers to?
I don't believe in medicine and stuff like that. So I don't know.
It's awkward. I think they're like individual cases. Like I was trying to keep trying to reiterate that it's a really individual case situation, and it's the same like we've been saying throughout most of our conversations. Is just that like everyone's living in this internal experience. Everyone's having their own experience, and the external things like they impact us and influence us and stuff. But the truth is we're all having this very individual experience, and that is different for everyone. So one person's transness might be different than another person. So we're constantly trying to find a way to like make it generally acceptable for people to just exist.
So we're talking about children, and I think when we're talking about children, we're not having the same. I'm sorry, because we're talking about children here, and at the end of the day, yeah, you can respect children extent. I wanted to be a black ballerina for years. I thought that was do you know what I mean? It was very real to me. You've got some kids that have autism, they become very fixated on things. The question is, how do we safeguard those kids? How do we measure that?
Autistic kids tend to actually, funny enough that you brought autism up, is that autistic kids are more likely to think they want to transition. So you're right, they do actually need safeguarding. I do think they do though, that's the thing. I think if you're autistic, if you're diagnosed as autistic and you come discussing trans identity, like it's a completely different process.
How would you then filter through those that just go through the phase of wanting to transition, and those that actually, because there are trans people that are autistic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you differentiate between the two?
That's the problem. This conversation about safeguarding children is like a blanket statement again, and again I think individual cases have to be dealt with individually.
Because even though Nims is like all against the hormone blockers,
I'd say I don't know enough about them. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the side effect.
But you would get informed if you had a trans child.
I'm not even giving my child. This is what I'm saying. I don't know. This is what I'm saying. I'm hearing about them. So I don't know enough about them for me to say, yeah, I'm going to be able to give a kid that okay, so tablets, whilst like.
Could it mess up with a kid? I think.
Can it mess up the development of a child or
like
the cognitive?
I believe medicine.
Sorry,
no, just the hormones.
Okay, but what are the side effects of doing that?
Doing that to a child. What are the side effects of doing that to an undeveloped body?
There's a chemical imbalance that happens when you do that. So what is the effect of that? I'm not a fan of medication, point blank period. But I'm also not a fan of using medication as a form of helping people to come to some conclusion about themselves. Sometimes, if you're having a psychotic episode, very needed. But if it's, you're unsure about your sex or who you are, I don't think having tablets that completely numb or completely cut off stuff is going to be really good for you.
So these blockers that they be giving these kids, one, like, what is it stunning? Is it like, what hormones?
I started growing breasts, I started going through my menstrual cycle. If I had hormone blockers, I wouldn't have gone through that. And I'm pretty sure my experience would have been completely different. The level of dysphoria that I had growing up until I started taking testosterone, which was a year ago, it would have been cut right out. Because how is that any different between with that and being on a pill, for example?
This is what I'm saying to you. What level of hormones blockers are we talking about here?
But being on a pill isn't really great for the body either.
And even that's not recommended for a certain.
What, as a child?
But most children don't take the pills.
No, not as a child.
Yeah, but
that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
We're talking about kids. What kind of development? Is it stunting at other points? I get that it's blocking one thing. Is it doing anything else? Is there anything else that's kind of
under the radar but being blocked also?
Yeah.
Do we know of any actual side effects, or is it like
Personally,
It's like
personally,
people's guessing. Not
the
enough
same with
research has been
everything,
done. We
the
don't
same
know.
with vaping now
But
being
then
done.
really, is that safe for kids then?
I only know about it, but I've never been on it myself. But like I was saying in regards to what Nims said, when I was 11, my mum actually asked me if I wanted to be a boy, and out of fear, I said no. Yeah, not realizing that my mum was actually very accepting, and she would have accepted me regardless. Yeah. Now the thought always crossed my mind: if I had said yes, where would I be right now? Like, if I had said yes, I would have kicked off my mum would have probably helped me kick off my transition from a long time ago.
Wow.
Do you see what I'm saying? And I probably would have been on hormone blockers. Obviously, not everyone's journey is the same, but our feelings are. And it took for me to see other people going through the same thing that I'm going through now, to realize that this is who I am, and to realize that I am actually a trans man. I'm not actually a lesbian female. I am a trans man. I just think that there just needs to be more awareness in things like primary schools, even though, like I said, a lot of parents are against it, but I think because it's so out there now and children are seeing same-sex couples together, children are seeing people transitioning and what have you, and I think it all starts at a young age, even though people don't believe it. It starts from young, but people who are trans, I'm pretty sure if you ask them their story, they'll all say it started from when they were a child. And the only thing about that is nobody was aware of being trans. Nobody was aware of it's okay to feel a certain way because you are forced into gender roles. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think you can differentiate between someone who's a genuine trans person and someone who's going through a phase. I feel like a lot of people have to go through something to realise that it is a phase, and unfortunately people do detransition, but you don't see, it's not as heard of for people to, it's not as heard of people detransition. Nobody really puts it out there, and that is a negative thing because people should see the good and the bad.
Yeah.
But like myself, I haven't heard of many people detransitioning.
I mean, I have, but I think that most of the time I hear it is because, like, bad news is what spreads, bad news is gossip.
Yeah.
So those kind of things, it will come out and it will happen. I agree though, I think that there should be definitely a lot more awareness, because I'm sitting here and a part of the community and not knowing about hormone pills or what effect it may have on the kids. And without that kind of awareness, and without, like, I don't know, maybe even enough research as to why people don't know and how to spread that, it needs to be done in order for us to really look after kids. Because they are our kids, they are our future.
It wasn't even